The creature constitution, Independence Hall, Philadelphia, 1786. None of the creatures in Independence Hall were able to sleep. Every night the mice in the basement tumbled through the tight spiders' webs. The spiders pursed the mice, screaming at the top of their lungs. The crickets in the closet kept everyone awake with their all-night chirping. Early in the morning, the pigeons in the clock tower started singing. They woke up everyone who managed to catch even a few moments of sleep. All the animals were exhausted and miserable. Maddie was sick and tired of being exhausted and miserable. She had the largest ears of any mouse in the Independence Hall, and she heard everything. The nights were becoming noisier, and she was concurring that no one would ever have a good night's sleep. One morning, she heard humans discussing something that sounded important. Maddie sneaked into the room and listened as they argued about their new nation's constitution. They needed some rules that everyone in the country would follow. The rules would bring the separate part of the country together. Maddie thought that if a constitution was an excellent idea, she organized a meeting of all the creatures. Every single creature came, from the spiders in the basement to the peacock on the clock tower. There were so many animals packed through together around the bell in the clock tower that they could barely move. "Thank you for coming, everybody," Maddie said. "The humans have a great idea. They are writing a constitution. We should have our own constitution." "What's a constitution?" asked the pigeon. It's the document that explains rules that we all live by," Maddie said. "We don't need any rules," said one of the spiders. When was the last time any of you slept at night?" Maddie replied. The crickets keep everyone awake," one mouse snapped. "Boo, crickets," yelled the pigeons. "If I hear those crickets chirping one more time, the pigeons wake everyone up so early. It's their fault." The crickets chirped. "The crickets and the pigeons are awful," said the spider. "But the mice are the worst. They keep knocking down our webs." "We can't even see your webs," a mouse retorted. The pigeons flapped their wings. The crickets chirped, the mice squeaked, and the spiders whined. There was such a commotion that no one could hear a single word around was saying. The animals continued arguing until the bell in the clock tower began to ring. Ding dong dong, ding dong. Maddie covered her large eyes and examined the hundreds of animals crammed in the room. Exhausted and grumpy from lack of sleep, they weren't achieving anything. Mary remembered that the humans she saw in their meeting were respecting the different states. It would be important for everyone who lived in the country to meet in one room. After the last bell chimed, Maddie said to the group, "Listen up. We all want to sleep, so we need to work together." That's what we're doing, called the spider. "We can't meet together in one room because there are too many of us," Mary said. "Go back to where you live and choose five creatures to represent your group. The creatures could choose while present your concerns and problems at the meeting tomorrow. The representatives will then vote on what the new rules will be." "Mary's right," said one of the other mice. "We're not accomplishing anything." The groups returned to where they lived and figured out who would best represent their group. They decided to take votes so every creature would have a say. The elections last until late in the evening. The next day, the creatures representing each group met around the bell and the clock tower. Everyone listened to each group's issues. When the group started arguing, Mary calmed them down and remind them to work together. Each group then suggested rules that would allow the creatures to sleep. The creatures spent almost as much time they came up with rules that even could agree on. In September of 1786, the creatures signed their constitution. Mary had listened to all the creatures and had convinced them to all work together. Since she was such an amazing listener, the creatures asked Mary to be their leader. Whenever the groups had a problem, they would bring it to Mary and the responsiveness. The night they signed their constitution, the creatures in the Independence Hall fell, Independence Hall fell asleep happily. For the first time in as long as they could remember, they all had a good night's sleep.